30 years of the best sports talk in Middle Tennessee, featuring Tennessee Radio Hall of Famer George Plaster, Tennessee Sports Hall of Fame coach Watson Brown, and Young Guns Billy Derrick. And now, here's your host, George Plaster.
Hello again, everybody. Welcome in. It's a beautiful Tuesday afternoon in Nashville as we broadcast from our new digs at the Fordyce Center in Bellevue. By the way, if you've never been out here before, it is beautiful. A little Ford Ice Center in Bellevue note, they will have a big watch party. I think both Friday night and Saturday night. Milwaukee Admirals are in the Calder Cup in round 2, and they will play Friday night and Saturday night. I'll get you more details in the very near future. Let's head to Murfreesboro, say hello to our man, Kelly Holcomb. Kelly, how are you?
I'm doing good, George. How you doing?
Good. For those who don't know it, we taped an interview earlier today that we're going to run tomorrow with Tim Couch. You know, it's amazing, Kelly, because I remember back then, people tried really hard to throw out the narrative that the two of you all hated each other. And it just simply wasn't true.
Yeah, it's not true. I had to go do a Browns backers deal about 2.5 weeks ago in Rochester, New York. The Photo City Browns backers are the only Browns backers that still has a banquet. There's so many Browns backers organizations around the country. You know, I can remember my high school coach, Coach Thompson, you know, was a Browns guy because that's all you saw on TV. It was back in the day. I mean, the Browns were it. But it's funny how, and I even said that at the banquet because I had to speak. It's funny how people try to pit Tim and I against each other, and it just simply wasn't true. I mean, the writers up there, and I still remember their names. I'm not going to call them out, but that's what paper, you know, and that's what media does. I mean, they try to sensationalize everything, and it just wasn't true with Tim and I. Now we, you know, and people will hear it in the interview tomorrow. We're both competitive. If you get to that league, you're competitive. I mean, when you're a professional athlete, you're competitive and you want to be on the field and you want to play and you think you deserve the right to play, but you got to go out there and you got to produce. And, you know, it was not right the way we were pitted against each other, you know, in the media and on the, you know, in the organization when we didn't play good, the other guy came in. But, you know, I really love Tim. He's one of my really good friends. We still keep in touch. You know, I love the guy. I mean, you know, we had such a dynamic positional room, and it was all spearheaded by Carl Smith, who is now coaching in Seattle. But it was, you know, we all care about each other. We like each other, and it was a wonderful time in my life.
Billy, how are you today?
I'm great, George.
You got some serious update info, don't you?
Yes, I do. We got a lot to get to. We're going to start with the NBA last night. A couple of pretty good games, good finishes. Heat beat the Knicks 109-101. Heat lead that series now 3-1. Jimmy Butler showed up again, not 40 points, but 27 points.
I didn't see a lot of fire out of the Knicks. They just looked like they were going through the motions.
No, but what's scary for them is that they played pretty well. I mean, Brunson, I think, had 31. You know, RJ Barrett played well. They shot well. They just, I don't know, they didn't have enough for the Heat. Heat had 7 offensive rebounds in the fourth quarter. And after the game, Julius Randle was asked about it, and he said maybe they wanted it more.
Yeah, well, that's a bad comment. I mean, I'm not blaming him for saying it.
You can't really say that.
But if that's true at this stage of the playoffs, ooh.
They're just not as good as the Miami Heat, I don't think. I mean, there was one possession where they got 5 rebounds.
5 offensive rebounds, yeah.
I mean, good gracious, like I could have gone out there and got a rebound. Let's go, guys. You know,
I'd like to have put you out there. I think that would have been amusing.
I think George could have gotten one as well.
Butler over Holcomb, got it. Got it.
Butler sizing up
Got
Holcomb.
it.
Lakers beat the Warriors. They had to hang on late.
Hold on a second. Did somebody on this show yesterday rip me for that pick?
I did.
Which, by the way, was a push.
It was a push.
Yeah, Lakers -3, but you wore me out.
Well, I just thought I still don't think the series is over, man. The Golden State Warriors are really good. They'll figure it out. They got a game at home that they've got to win. But just like Steve Kerr said, somebody's got to win 4 games. So they're still in it.
If any team could come from 3-1 down, it's Golden State. And what they really want is the opportunity to go back to LA, which will feel like a do or die for both teams. And so they're going to put a lot of stuff into winning game 5 to force that game 6 and see if the Lakers get a little tight ass.
Yep.
Did you guys see this morning? Mike Greenberg said that the Lakers should rest LeBron and AD in game 5.
Well, he's got a point. It's not a point I necessarily agree with, but it's not 100% crazy.
But you can't put your foot off the gas like that.
Not on Golden State. You can't.
You can't play around with them.
These are not the Knicks.
No. But how about Lonnie Walker last night? First Lakers bench player to score 15-plus points in the fourth quarter of a playoff game since Kobe Bryant exactly 26 years ago today.
And Kelly, there are a bunch of people who saw that going, who is Lonnie Walker?
I've thought of, I don't even know who this guy is. He was taking critical shots at critical times in the game and making them.
It's crazy.
The good player at Miami. I can't remember if he was drafted or not, but
he was drafted by the Spurs, so came up under Greg Popovich.
That's right, yeah.
Who's a great coach, obviously. So
good for him.
They were happy for him after the game. They were embracing him. So
no, they were happy for them. They were happy for them.
Tonight, Sixers and Celtics, a couple big game 5s. They'll tip off at 6:30, and then the Suns and the Nuggets. Which game are y'all more excited to watch tonight?
Suns Nuggets.
Suns Nuggets.
Because there's a level of offensive star power that I don't think the NBA has ever seen. I mean, it's 4 deep. Jokic, Murray in Denver. You've
Kevin
got
Durant, Devin
Booker, and Kevin Durant, which does beg the question. Did Calipari underachieve with some of these guys?
Oh, did he?
Oh, wow.
I mean, is that not a fair question?
It is. And I came up with that question with, a couple of like a month ago. Is Calipari, should he be on the hot seat? Because he gets the talent. So what's going on?
Well, I'll go with what I've always gone with. If you're looking for him to X and O, out X and O people,
ain't happening.
Good luck.
Oh, wow.
Good luck.
NHL last night, the Golden Knights beat Edmonton. They were all. How about these high-scoring games? It's ridiculous in the NHL. 5-1. They were up early on them.
Edmonton's really good, but they've got goaltender issues, and that is a position you don't need to have issues,
especially this time of year.
Yeah.
Tonight, Canes and Devils, game 4. Carolina leads that one 2-1. See if the Devils can steal another one after. I don't know if they even stole it. They dominated the Canes last game. So we'll see about that. Stars and Kraken also tonight.
Kelly, there will be a pick on that game.
Oh,
You're welcome.
I'm sure.
Yeah. You'll want to take note and maybe go the other way.
Oh, I will.
George, I thought I'd throw this in here. Another gambling probe, which we're probably going to be seeing more of these. More than 100 current and former Iowa and Iowa State athletes are at the center of the state gambling probe. After student athletes were shelved last week from the competition, both universities have acknowledged their athletics programs are under investigation by the state's Gaming and Racing Commission for potential transgressions. A total of 126 individuals from both schools, including current and former members of both football programs, are subjects in the probe. And their baseball team was the first team to be examined after Alabama fired their coach. So, I mean, there's a deeper issue here. I don't know how big of an issue it is, but I mean, I talked with you before the show. stuff like this has been going on.
Oh, it's been going on for 40 years.
It's like
Good
it's
Lord.
just now coming to light.
I mean, if people are out there saying, I'm shocked, oh, please, kids have been betting on games since, the beginning of man. I mean, this is not a new thing just because you got DraftKings and FanDuel. They've been doing this with campus bookies forever. Kelly, were you a campus bookie?
I wasn't a campus bookie, but
You knew
George
one.
is absolutely right. You're going to start seeing more and more. And I can remember, and I'm not going to tell you the team that I was at, but I can remember being in the locker room and guys gambling, shooting craps during our off time. I mean, during lunchtime, they're in there shooting craps, and you got the media around, which I wouldn't ask. I wouldn't tell anybody to do because that's not a good idea to do that anyway. But I've been around, I've been on a plane ride where, the ante up was $100. It just goes on. I mean, it's happened at the beginning of time when you got things to gamble on, and you get guys that love to gamble. They'll bet on anything. It doesn't matter what it is. They get addicted to that stuff. I've had friends got addicted to that stuff, and they'll bet on anything.
Yeah. This is obviously sort of the backlash of the Alabama story. Let me say one thing about the Alabama story. What made it easier to catch whatever it is they caught is the fact I don't know anybody that's ever put a bet on a college baseball game.
Yeah, me neither, George. I wouldn't have a clue.
I mean, I don't think that's something that's going on a lot now. Maybe I have not checked some of these sites to see, but that's one where if you get big money, until you get to the College World Series, where I think the Vegases of the world do some of that, it is a red flag. And apparently it made it a lot easier to catch whatever was going on out of Tuscaloosa.
Yeah, I mean, it makes it obvious. You see a six-figure bet placed on a college baseball game. I think you think something's up there. So we'll see where that goes with Iowa and Iowa State. George, news earlier today that Denny Crum, Hall of Fame basketball coach who led Louisville to 2 national titles in the 80s, has passed away at the age of 86. He played basketball under John Wooden at UCLA in the late 50s. And then he joined his staff, and he helped them win 3 national titles.
Yeah.
One of the better coaches. I mean, he helped Louisville go from the Missouri Valley to the Metro and to the Conference USA. So it's a big part of that program.
Kelly, he had been on John Wooden's staff there. And I don't really know what Louisville's program was until he got there. But, man, while he was there, you think of the Darrell Griffiths and the Never Nervous Purvis and LaBradford Smith, and names go on, and I'm missing a ton of them. Man, what a program he put together.
I remember growing up and watching Denny Crum and the Louisville Cardinals in Freedom Hall, man. And then now my daughter plays Bellarmine up there in Freedom Hall, and you can't imagine. I mean, I know you've been up there. That place is absolutely huge.
I love it.
And I can remember when that place was full watching the Louisville Cardinals. It was, it was obviously a good time in their storied career or storied history. And, I can remember, Denny Crum coaching on the sidelines. That was, it was a sad loss, but, it was some good time for Louisville fans. That's for sure. Freedom
Hall. Billy, I've done, I want to say 3 games at Freedom Hall. That is a great old barn.
It is. It really is.
Mystique.
And Kelly's right. Bellarmine has taken it over, refurbished it. I haven't been in it, so I don't know. But back when I did games there, man, I loved that place.
I'd love to poll Louisville fans and see how much of them were happy about that move away from Freedom Hall.
Well, it's old barn versus new amenities.
Mm-hmm.
I've been in the Yum Center. I've been to a game there. It's nice. Got a lot of amenities.
But you wonder, did they lose a little bit of that tradition?
They might have a little bit.
Because they've been down. I mean, ever since, I'm not saying there's a correlation there, but I mean.
That's not the reason.
No.
Well, it's just like what we talked about yesterday with the Titans going from this old, stadium to this new $2.1 billion stadium. That's the new thing. I mean, there's all the tradition in Freedom Hall, and now you go to the Yum Center, and what have they done in the Yum Center? I mean, I'm sure that was hard for the fans to go. I think you're right, Billy.
MLB, Aaron
I think
Judge.
more of their issues have been in dorm rooms. Thank you.
Nice little slide in.
You're welcome.
Little shot.
We
Somebody
needed
say
that.
Rick Pitino?
He's back at the Garden now.
Yes, he is.
Aaron Judge is set to return from the IL today after dealing with a right hip strain over the past week. And
Robert Parrish is not coming back in that room. Sorry.
are you done yet, George?
Do you remember when he was with the Celtics and things were really going bad? He held a press conference with Larry Bird is not walking back in that building. Sorry. What were you saying?
He's talking about the Yankees.
Great. Wonderful. Let's skip them.
All right, let's go to the
To
Braves.
hell with the Yankees.
The Braves have placed their ace, Max Fried,
That's a story.
on the 15-day IL again with a strained left forearm. It's his second trip of the season for Fried. He also missed 2 weeks in April. So, I mean, they haven't disclosed how long he'll be out, but I'm hearing it's not going to be short.
No, it probably isn't. The bad news is Max Fried is done for a little while. The good news, they've got a 7-game lead over the Mets, an 8-game lead over Philly. They have opened up and really put a whooping on people early. But you cannot lose a Max Fried, a Kyle Wright. All of a sudden, the Bryce Elders, the Jared Schusters, and oh, by the way, Mike Soroka is scheduled to pitch here on Thursday. And take 3 guesses who will be out there to watch him. Kelly?
The first two don't really count, do they?
No.
I'm sure you're going to be there, buddy.
Darn tootin' I will. Mike Soroka, there will be, I mean, let's face it, there are a lot of eyes on this kid. He was 3 years ago either 4th or 5th in Cy Young voting. You don't think they couldn't use him right about now?
They probably could.
But he hadn't pitched for a couple of years with all of the Achilles problems that he's had. And so
You gotta wonder, do they have to rush him back here in the next month or so?
I don't think they can, and I think they know that.
With Fried going down,
They gotta be
another
really
starter
careful.
goes down. I know who they bring up. They brought up another young guy. So talk about pitching.
Danny
depth.
Young.
Danny Young. That was
Yeah.
it. Yeah. So we'll see where that goes with the Braves tonight. George, battle the barrel, Vandy and Louisville. They've been going at
Up
it.
there.
Yeah, up there in
Yeah.
Louisville, 5:00, ESPN 2. They've been going at it every year since 2008. I didn't realize that. 40th all-time
There's some
meeting.
bad blood between those two programs.
Oh, yeah. There's been some good games, even in the postseason in Omaha. Remember that one in 2019?
Well, there was also a regional in Louisville that I remember Will Perdue and I went to, and there was also a regional here where Louisville beat Vandy.
It was a super
regional 2-zip.
It was a super.
Yeah.
Yep. 2013, I think it was. And that was one of Vandy's best teams in the regular season. So, but combined, David threw this in here, 11 College World Series appearances and 19 super regionals between both these schools.
Wow.
This is one of the better rivalries in college baseball.
Yeah.
So tonight at 5.
Okay.
That's it.
We're done.
Well, Billy, I'm a little upset at Billy because, and I hate to bring this up, but we talk about Denny Crum, but Joe Cap also passed away too.
Doesn't seem like you're bothered by bringing it up.
Oh, who was that, Kelly?
But Joe Cap passed away, man. The starter of Super Bowl IV, the Minnesota Vikings, who played an integral role in the longest yard. He was one of the guards in the longest yard. Joe Cap, he passed away yesterday.
Wow. I did not know that. Thank you for sharing it.
Sure
Look
did.
at Kelly chiming in.
Oh, yeah. But if he can get in a cheap shot at you, even better. That seems to be.
I gave him a compliment yesterday. They did both he and David did a really good job yesterday because they were presented with some problems with all those mics. So they did a really good job.
They sure did.
I slept well last night knowing that Kelly was on my side again.
Yeah. Well, let me tell you.
How long is that going to last?
Here's a hyphened word for you. Short-lived.
Yeah.
Very, very short-lived.
After the break, Tony Basilio is going to join us from Knoxville. Got a variety of things to talk to him about. And then Coach Herm Edwards at 3:00. So Super Tuesday is on us. Stay tuned. We'll get it started in just a moment.
How am I going to get to work? My car's totaled.
Skylar, our team is making a call right now. We'll get you a rental car. Don't worry.
That's a relief.
Call us 24/7. We're here. We're going to help.
Year number 2 of the Plaster and Friends Celebrity Bowling Night was awesome. And the reason is really simple. I chose Strike and Spare, and they were amazing. They have great food, great bowling, and a staff that is truly ready to go the extra mile to help you. They have 5 family fun centers in the area to choose from, and for more info, go to strikeandspare.com or call them at 615-824-5685. Now that the weather has gotten considerably warmer, there's not a better place to spend a morning or an afternoon than Riverside Golf Links. So you've probably noticed the weather has gotten a lot warmer, and that means a couple of things in Nashville. It means baseball, and it really means golf. And for me, it's a visit to Riverside Golf Links. The course has improved dramatically. There are now 27 holes, including a 9-hole executive course. If you want tee times or more information, dial them up at 615-847-5074.
You can't see the sights without the sounds. From the crack of the bat to the roar of the crowd and everything in between, discover what Hit City has to offer. Spend your nights cheering on the Nashville Sounds at First Horizon Park with giveaways, fireworks shows, theme weekends, and more. Single game tickets are on sale now. Visit NashvilleSounds.com to claim your seat today.
As the trusted premier custom home builder in Middle Tennessee, Donnelly Timmons has over 20 years of experience in the industry. Whether you're looking to build your dream home or renovate your current home, their team will ensure that every client and every remodel is unique, luxurious, and completed on time within budget. Founders Dustin Timmons and Joey Donnelly have over 25 years of construction experience in the Nashville area. Together, they have completed projects in Forest Hills, Oak Hill, Green Hills, Franklin, and Brentwood. Dustin and Joey believe that communication is the most important aspect of all construction projects. Therefore, they personally manage each project themselves and are involved in job site activities on a daily basis. Their commitment to quality and integrity has earned them an outstanding reputation among their clients. Contact them to set an appointment for a free consultation or to view some of their completed projects. Give them a call at 615-456-7983 or log on to DonnellyTimmons.com.
We are back, and we're headed up to Knoxville here in just a moment to talk with Knoxville sports talk show host Tony Basilio. Let's go ahead and bring him up there. Tony, how you doing? I know he's there somewhere. Let's try him again. Tony, are you there?
We're hearing something.
Yeah. Let's try it again. Tony, you there?
Sure, why we're having issues with Tony here as of late.
Kelly, what do you think the issue is?
Billy.
I could have told you that, George.
One word.
Here where this is going.
Yeah, one word, Billy.
Really?
You see how George just throws you the lob there, Kelly? He's like,
absolutely. I mean, he knows where I'm going. He knows me well enough to know where I'm going.
Are you saying that I'm stirring?
I mean, that's what you do.
Yeah, I'm good at it. So we'll get him on here in just a second. The first thing I'm going to get to with him is hyping of quarterbacks. Because, Kelly, one of the things that we'll get into tomorrow, has there ever been a quarterback that had to deal with more hype before he ever walked on campus than Tim Couch? Okay.
Yeah, I don't know. Tim was that guy. I didn't realize, the guy I played basketball with him too. He was an outstanding basketball player. Tim was just a great athlete. And I didn't realize some of the things that, how he was ranked and all that until I found out years later. And, Tim was, of course, he's from a small town, Leslie County, Kentucky, which, like you said, Knoxville was closer. He grew up a UT Vols fan, and people will find out tomorrow. But Tim is a good athlete. There's no question about that. He had the size, he had the skill. But he used to always get mad when I tell him, hey, drags and bubble screens to Craig Yeast. It ain't hard when you can do that, and he could take it 95 for you because he ran a 4.240. He gets so mad at me.
I love it.
He was, you're right, George. He was really hyped coming out of high school.
I remember.
And, for UK to get him when they were not very good in football, obviously Hal Mummy had something that, Hal Mummy, Mike Leach, Chris Hatcher, all those guys that came together at the right time, and they brought about this wide open, run and gun style of offense that nobody had ever really seen. And obviously Tim benefited from that because he became the number 1 draft pick in the National Football League draft, I think in 98. So, or 99, I can't remember the year, but there was a lot of hype around him coming out of high school.
Let's bring Tony in. I think we've got him in. Tony, I don't know if you heard the whole conversation, but we were getting into quarterbacks that get hyped before they ever get on campus. And obviously this young kid, and I'm not going to try to say his last name, but Nico has certainly gotten hyped. How is he handling the hype?
Man, George, and it's great to be with you.
Yeah, same here.
He's been terrific. I think there was a major concern from Tennessee's perspective of this is the first time we've done this. Obviously, there was a lot of fanfare around his recruitment. And I think a lot of those figures, by the way, that you see on the NIL market, I think a lot of that's false, but hey, whatever. Gives people something to talk about. They did pay him a lot of money, though, obviously. And I think the expectation early on, George, from him was going to be that he was going to be this kind of flashy, too cool for school kid who, will the money make him demanding? Will it make his people around him demanding? It's been the exact opposite. He's come in and kind of behaved like any kid would that's walking onto a campus for the first time. Very deferential toward not only Joe Milton, but the other returning quarterbacks there. They started him down low on the depth chart to start the spring. You didn't hear anything from him. You didn't hear anything from his people. And there was a lot of concern about it because let's face it, this is a guy who fall before, well, I guess it would have been last summer, played a flag football game out in West Knoxville, and somebody flew on a private jet, him and his teammates over, several family members. There was like 25 or 30 of them, I think, in all, in his entourage. So, I mean, not your typical sort of college recruitment, college experience, but so far so good with him. I hear nothing but good things about him.
Tony, I've always asked myself, if I had been any kind of an athlete, could I handle what some of these kids at 17, 18 years old have had to do in the years you've been at Tennessee, in Knoxville, doing what you do? Who's the most hyped that really handled it beautifully, and who didn't handle it beautifully?
That's a really great question. Off the top of my head, Peyton Manning was kind of built for it with his family that he came from. I'll never forget going to the first practice when he was a freshman and being out there. And I was sitting next to John Adams and some people like that from the News Sun. Well, there were people back then they could go to any practice you want to. It's wide open, wild, wild west. As opposed to today, where you and I both know they're guarding the secrets that are over there in the Oak Ridge National Laboratory. Secrets of our very defense ourselves, or of our planet. At any rate, enough editorializing. Manning was beautiful the way he handled it, really before, during, and after. The guy that comes to mind from the quarterback position is James Banks, who came from Indianapolis, Indiana. It was such a big deal when James Banks committed to Tennessee that they let it was the middle of the day, they let his whole school go to the gymnasium. He was the most decorated athlete to ever come out of that school, and that's a school that's had tons of athletes. I wish I could remember the name of the school off the top of my head. I can't. But he's a kid that came to school as a freshman, got in trouble, ended up at wide receiver for a while, got in trouble, and ended up transferring, and then he got in trouble where he was transferring. George, James Banks is literally one of the best athletes I've ever seen in my life, but he couldn't get out of his own way. Could not make good decisions. Just couldn't do it.
It was George. It was probably Ben Davis. Was it Ben Davis High School?
It was Ben Davis High School. That's exactly right, Kelly.
Yeah.
I mean, when I try to think about as big a goofball as I was back then, how would I have handled that? Tony, the answer is it would have been miserable. I'd have been awful at it.
I think that's the answer for most of us. You know, these gambling scandals that we're getting ready, and we're going to see more of them. To me, you're dealing with young people whose frontal lobe in their brain, which is where you control your impulses, aren't developed. And so you do things without thinking about them. And whoever thinks that a little bet I make on an app is ever going to come back when I'm an athlete on me. Or, you know, I got a buddy down the hall and I live in a dorm, or I got a friend on campus, or I got a friend from my community. And I just text the kid and say, hey, man, go heavy on us this week. We're going to hammer this team. Or, hey, our quarterback's really beat up this week. You might ought to go on whomever. I just think most people, you know, the whole gambling thing is so normalized. I'm surprised this hasn't happened till now, but I don't think this is the end of it, because I think you're talking about now these young kids with money in their pocket, many of whom have never had money. And I think that just adds fuel to the fire. But you're right, George. I mean, I think back to the time I was 17 or 18, and I'm almost like embarrassed for myself when I look back on myself. And I know we shouldn't be that way, but I just want to go back and slap my fat little face back then, George.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. When I think back to 17, 18 years old at BGA, it's an embarrassment.
But Tony, we all grow, you know? Yeah, we grow. And the thing we have to remember doing what we do, it's real easy to be judgmental of these kids when they do things, because you're looking at it through grown people's eyes and you're looking at it through mature eyes. But these kids, you know, I've got two kids, thank God, that have kind of lived through it. They're 23 now, turning 24. But 5 years ago, I held my breath every night. Any parent does. Any parent that doesn't tell you that they're holding their breath is lying to themselves, because all you are is one bad decision away from having to call mom, call dad, or mom and dad getting a call from somebody. You know, one bad decision. That's all it is. 5 minutes, one bad decision.
Tony, I made the comment on the gambling thing. This is going on every college campus in America. And for people to believe it's not would be incredibly naive. Now, the Alabama thing is kind of weird, because for all the gambling that goes on, I don't know anybody that bets on college baseball. That one did catch me off guard.
And they were so unhip to the whole thing that guy went to the window and placed a bet that was way over limit, generally for college baseball. And that's what tripped the deal. And that just shows you just how unsavvy they were in what they were trying to do. And who knows what the real story is? You know, is that guy jammed up in gambling? Is he doing a favor for his friend? I mean, who the heck knows? I do know this, George, that these kids today are not like you and Kelly, and they're not like me, where when we grew up, there was a stigma on gambling. These kids that are of age now, that are in colleges, all grew up with the World Series of Poker right there on ESPN and celebrated. And now every sporting event has lines and odds and live odds and props and this and that. And if you don't think that stuff is seeping into locker rooms all over America in all these sports, we're all being naive. We are all being naive, especially in major college sports.
You're absolutely right about that. Let me ask you one Tennessee baseball question real quick. It looks like the series against Vandy several weeks ago sort of flipped a switch on this team. Now they had a little stumble at Georgia, but all in all, they are, it would appear to me, going to host a first round in the NCAA. What more do they have to do to achieve a super regional status, or is it past that?
George, I think they got to win them all in the SEC if they're going to do that, for my money. I mean, they got to go 6-0, I would think, down the stretch if they want to get a super regional and have a really good showing in Hoover. Otherwise, I just think that ship has sailed. And, they went on the road to Georgia last week. This Tennessee team it hates the road. And every time they make an error, every time, the next pitch is going to leave the yard, or a couple pitches later, it's going to leave the yard. And it's happening so much, it's uncanny. They just don't do enough little things well to win on the road. And George, their pitching is so good that I still believe in them in the postseason, because I believe those starters are going to ratchet it up a little more when we get into postseason play. I tell you, I said the other day on the air after they got back from Georgia, I said, I still think this team's going to Omaha. A guy emailed me yesterday and he said, Tony, please quit saying that. You're embarrassing yourself. You have a better chance of winning the Powerball, as this team does, of going to Omaha. That's what I was told by one of my listeners, who apparently doesn't share my enthusiasm.
It's become obvious that they have flipped some switch that has gotten them to a new level of pretty good. Now, I know I've hopscotched all over the place with nothing apparently all that important on my mind. Kelly, what do you got for him?
Well, just talking about that, the Vols baseball team didn't lose a game in the SEC tournament last year, one of only two teams to ever do that, and they were a surefire bet to go to Omaha. So why could they not get hot at the right time and go to Omaha this year? Because it looks like they're playing better now.
Well, that's exactly right. And the stat I love that really blows everybody's mind, which is true, is that LSU fell out of that number one slot a couple days ago because they got beat up on the road this weekend. They should be very glad. Vanderbilt should be very glad they've stumbled, because the position you don't want to be in at the end of this whole thing heading into the postseason is number one. I can tell you, whoever that is will not make it to the College World Series. It is not going to happen. I don't know why that is, but it's been since 1999 since that number one team has gotten in, and that's close to a quarter century of evidence. And I saw Tennessee last year, and you saw down in Nashville one of those Super Vandy teams. When you carry that one seed into that deal, I just think it becomes a much harder tournament to navigate through, whether you're home, whether you're away. And this Tennessee team, they, just like the Braves a couple years ago, the Braves undeniably had that pitching and had that ball club. But what you need is you need a couple pieces, a couple guys to just get hot, sort of like what the Lakers are doing right now. The Lakers have had a couple of role players in these series that have sort of guided them, and the Lakers are on the precipice of the Western Conference Final right now, in a team where LeBron James last night hardly touched the ball in the fourth quarter because they had some kid that went to Miami for college, washed out down in San Antonio, ended up in the G League. And this is what makes sports so great. because postseason sports are about your role players and your depth as much as anything. And that's one of the things that I've always found fascinating about team sports. Your role players have to step up in the postseason.
Well, that's the whole thing about baseball too. And y'all, George is a huge baseball fan, but like you can get hot at any time and you can make a run at this thing. So who's saying that Tennessee can't do that at this point?
Well, these people, you understand, the fan base here was expecting this team to win 50 games rolling out of bed because they thought that Tony Vitello, who I call Tony Vols, that's his mob nickname that I've given him, Italian to Italian. You two wouldn't understand. Anyway, Tony Vols, they thought he had some kind of magical lamp that he was just going to rub, and they were going to win 45 or 50 games. And guys, it just doesn't work that way when you replace every position player on your baseball team. Unless you guess right, and I mean really guess right, you're going to take a major step backwards when that's the case, and that's what's going on here. The great news for them is, though, as you say, they still have an opportunity. I think they're solidly in the field unless they crash and burn down the stretch. Anything can happen. But I think they're solidly in the field. And I tell you what, with Tennessee's pitching and the bullpen depth, I would not want them in my region, and I sure wouldn't want them in my super region either.
Nobody wants to see Chase Burns in the 8th and 9th inning, Tony, firing that
was he
100-mile-an-hour
scary?
Fastball.
Was that scary? Friday night?
When he came in against Vandy, it was game over.
It was wild. And, I have Evan Russell on me on Mondays, and Evan said that he had never seen the Chase Burns that took the mound that night. He'd never seen him like that. Never seen him act like that. Never seen him pump his fist like that. Never seen him throw the ball that hard. I mean, a lot of things were just like, whoa, where did this come from?
Yeah, and I've got one more. I got one more thing, George. And this may be a little taboo, but I want to go back to what y'all were talking about with the gamut. I love what Tony said because my college coach used to always tell me in meetings, I mean, they were more of, raising a guy up. But, he's told me since I've had kids that, you can go through 16, 17, 18 years of doing the right thing with your child, and it takes a peer about 5 seconds to mess it up. So, with all this gambling stuff, it's going to keep going out. But there's another thing that's going on in college sports. And I know that George may get mad at me for saying this, but weed is another big thing because, and there's, you probably don't have to make a comment. I'm just saying this because I've been around it. It's prevalent in every school. And I just don't, you talked about George, myself, and yourself growing up at a different time. I don't understand that, but that's the way kids think now. They don't think anything about the gambling. They don't think anything about the weed. That's just the way they've grown up.
Well, it's legal.
Yeah, I mean, it's just wild.
I mean, let's talk about that, right? In most of these states and in more and more states, it's legal. And that's, that becomes a real issue on these coaches. It's like the NBA several years ago, they said, we're going to drug test just not for marijuana. And everybody's like, well, what do you mean? And commissioner said, if we drug test for marijuana, we wouldn't have a league.
Yeah, wouldn't have a league.
And I was like, well, at least I'm honest.
Yeah, he told the truth.
He was telling the truth.
Yes, he was. Okay, Kelly, you're done?
Yeah, well, I was just going to let me ask you one more question. Since we talked about Nico earlier, that made me think.
Yeah.
This upcoming season, is Joe Milton on a short leash? Are they licking their chops to put Nico in the game? Or are they going to let him develop more? How is that going to work, Tony?
Their best case scenario, talking to people, is Joe Milton gets in there and has a great season.
Okay.
And they can bring Nico along nice and slowly in this league. And then let him learn, let him grow, let him play a little bit. But then in 2024, hit the ground running with a chance to make a playoff. And I think a solid goal for Tennessee for that year, 2024, not this upcoming season, but the following, would be to qualify somehow for that 12-team playoff. I think the way their recruiting's going, the way it's gone, the way the roster composition, the way it looks, it seems like that will be a worthwhile goal. And, one of the things I'm doing on the air just to have a little fun is circling Friday, December the 20th, a home game for the playoffs for the 5 seed in Neyland Stadium. Why not?
Okay.
Why the heck not? And by the way, circle that we'll be up there with you.
And well,
Outside
by the
the
way,
stadium.
George, yeah, circle that. A peon like me will be outside the stadium because there will be, I would say, 150,000 people around that game with 50,000 trying to get in.
Yes.
I mean, that would be an absolute madhouse if a playoff game happened in Knoxville. People would make the pilgrimage from the 4 corners of the globe, guys. It'd be crazy.
And you would still have a post game at 3 a.m.
Well, George, I do that for directional schools. So yeah, it's called I Need a Life and I'm a Degenerate.
I love it. Tony, thank you as always. Great stuff.
Thank you, guys. Thank you.
He is terrific. Tony Basilio joining us from Knoxville. After the break, Kelly, I'm going to want to get your opinion on something that is going on that I think might actually be good in the world of college athletics. You didn't think I had something like that, did you?
Okay, we'll see.
Okay. Let's talk Big Machine Music City Grand Prix, August the 4th through the 6th. So right now, the ticket selling has begun on an event that really caught Nashville by storm a couple of years ago. I have had a bunch of friends who said, I didn't know the first thing, but all of a sudden I went. It's one of the coolest things that I've ever seen. I have heard that a bunch. I'm going to get the chance to experience it myself the first weekend in August. So here are the ticket options that are out there. General admission, reserved grandstand. New for 2023 is the Turn 9 Club, which is located in the most action-packed turn. The East Club and the most premium of clubs, which is Club RPM. Tickets are now available. You can go to musiccitygp.com. That's musiccitygp.com. And stay tuned. Maybe a little sanity in college athletics. Stick around.
For over 35 years, Wilson Bank & Trust has been committed to providing customized banking solutions to help individuals, families, and businesses in Tennessee achieve their goals. As your full-service community bank, we are proud to offer loans with competitive rates, local decision-making, and fast, friendly service from our experienced lenders. No matter where you are on your financial journey, Wilson Bank & Trust is ready to help you take the next step. Visit your nearest Wilson Bank & Trust office or online at wilsonbank.com to get started today. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Family owned and operated for more than 2 decades, Alaco Fine Wood Floors is Nashville and Middle Tennessee's choice for premium quality hardwood floors. Since 1995, Jimmy Alaco and his army of employees have embodied the approach of taking pride in one's craft and providing superior customer service, growing from a one-man shop to a team of 23 professionals who share the founder's passion for quality craftsmanship and customer satisfaction. If you are interested in contacting them, you can find their headquarters at 2505 Winford Avenue in Berry Hill, or give them a call at 615-356-0303. Again, that's 615-356-0303, or log on to alacofinewoodfloors.com. Alaco Fine Wood Floors, serving Middle Tennessee's hardwood flooring needs since 1995.
At Baird, we have a different slant on global financial advice. That global capabilities mean nothing without personal attention. We have investor relationships in 35 countries and market expertise in over 40 industry verticals, all to help make the most important investment connections of all, yours. Global financial advice with a client-first approach. It's the shape of things to come. Discover the Baird difference at BairdDifference.com.
So we are back. I'm going to get into this story with Herm Edwards, who will join us here in just a little while. This comes out of SI.com from Ross Dellinger. He put this out a few hours ago. NCAA President Charlie Baker continues to push for NIL legislation with lawmakers. There is growing bipartisan support for a federal bill to help provide more oversight around name, image, and likeness. Well, hallelujah.
I agree. I mean, something has to be done. You can't, I understand that the Nico kid, Nico Iamaleava, is that how you say his name? I don't know.
Well done.
I think it's
whatever. He was close.
I don't
give him a bronze medal or whatever. He tried. It was better. I wouldn't even try it.
He's been promised $8 million to go to UT. So when you got a kid that's that young, that's just certainly a lot. And somebody has to step in and do something with this NIL stuff, because it's like the Wild Wild West now. They're giving all kind of money. It's just, we're talking about gambling, and it's just prevalent in our society right now. And they're talking about giving NIL deals to high school kids now. I think they did it.
It's absurd.
Maybe in Louisiana, I think, have they passed it? I don't know. But it's just, and I've always said, George, that, with scholarships, you get a kid from an affluent area, he doesn't need money. His mom and dad can give him money, but you get a kid from an area that is a really good player that comes from a poor part of the neighborhood. He can't even buy gas, or he can't take a girl out to eat dinner, or he can't go to, the kids need something. But like this NIL stuff is getting totally outrageous. And I'm glad to see that they're going to put some kind of oversight on it, because it certainly needs to be.
Baker's visit, I'm reading from this. Baker's visit comes at a time in which at least some congressional lawmakers are seriously gearing up to move on a college athlete bill. Now, Kelly, I guess I want to make this point clear. I believe that the 50, let's say Power Fives, let's just keep it for the moment at Power Fives.
Mm-hmm.
The Power Fives have some money to give to kids.
Yeah.
And I've always thought, okay, now you may shoot me down on this, but let's say each kid gets the same amount of money, whether it's $10,000 a year, $15,000 a year, they all get the same. And then you have the opportunity for additional money based on academics, community service. It's not based on, how many times you can throw up at the frat house.
Right.
And why is that such a hard concept? I mean,
I think that's a great idea, Joe.
Cancer with that thought.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea. And I have heard of some teams that they put all the money into a slush fund, like all the NIL money, and they're divvying it out to guys equally. So, that was the problem that I always had with it. If you're going to do that, like give everybody some, there's no animosity built up that way, where you take the example of, you got a center that's making, heck, he's making, let's say $200,000 or something, and he's not playing very well. And then the guard right next to him is not getting anything, and he's playing really good. Well, I mean, there's a lot of animosity right there. Why is this guy getting this money, and why am I not? I'm better than he is. So I think you build things up that way, and you can definitely tear a team down. I think it happened a little bit at Texas A&M last year. I think that was, I think that was some of the things that happened last year with them, with all the infighting with kids about he's getting this, I'm not getting this. So I think that's a great idea, George. I think if you start giving guys, just the same amount of money, and then, hey, if you want to make a little bit more, we can do that. If they're going to absolutely have to have it, I don't like it, but I think the kids deserve something. And I think that's a way to make everybody in the organization happy. I think that's a good idea.
When Herm comes on with us here in about 5 minutes, that's where we'll sort of start the whole thing. So get ready, Kelly. The bad news is there is stat of the day before that, which appears to be a mechanism these days to embarrass both you and me.
Oh, no doubt. David, he scrolls the internet. Every night, I mean, he's up and he's scrolling. He's trying to find out. At least he's not giving us answers that have 15 names to them. At least we're getting one name now, which I like.
This one today is going to be interesting. It's a stat about Steph Curry to give you guys a little ahead, how he's not clutch in these late game scenarios in the playoffs.
The answer is Davidson.
That would be incorrect. I have the buzzer ready for you. We'll get there in a minute.
We'll get the question and then Herm Edwards, when we come back, stick around.
Hey, thank you for meeting with me today. The insurance company has made an offer.
Already? How?
They've offered you the entire policy.
Thank you, Blair.
You're so welcome.
Forget the fact that Sir Speedy Music City is owned by my BGA classmate James Warren. Their work stands on its own merit. James and his staff do incredible work, as evidenced by the huge banners at the Plaster and Friends Celebrity Bowling Night. If you're looking for quality to help your marketing and business communications, and you want it at a reasonable price, these are your folks. Call them at 615-832-9511 or go to print at sirspeedymusiccity.com. And be sure to tell them Plaz sent you.
This is my buddy and former Nashville Sounds PA announcer Eric Berner. I always laughed in the old days at Greer Stadium when I would walk in, Eric would immediately play my favorite song, Van Halen's Jump. But then I learned he actually has a real job with Rockcastle Wealth Advisors.
Yeah, George, that's what I do. I help people in the pursuit of making their money live as long as they do. Everybody's situation is different, so I use a customized and individualized, personalized approach to the person I'm working with. Old 401ks, retirement planning, insurance planning, inheritance planning. Those are things that people like to get some more information about.
One of the things I find is people don't even know where to start, and that's where you come in.
Yeah, so I can usually help people with an initial phone call or meeting that is a no charge and no obligation.
And I'll bet you have a phone number and a website.
I do, George. They can call me at 615-235-1058 or rockcastlewealth.com or Eric at rockcastlewealth.com.
Hello, this is Celeste Middleton, a State Farm agent in Murfreesboro, Tennessee. I want to help my neighbors and local businesses be proactive and assess their risk before something unexpected happens. We want you to have a thorough understanding of your coverages to have the best protection when you need it. We can create a personal price plan for you. Our team has over 70 years of experience helping people in Middle Tennessee. We have an awesome team with integrity and provide honest and prompt communication, and we love what we do and genuinely care about everyone we work with at our office. Give us a call at 615-895-2700. Send us a message at celestemiddleton.com or walk in at our office at 803 North Thompson Lane in Murfreesboro. We would love to earn your business.
Welcome to John English Antique Sports and Cards, located at 204 East Depot Street in beautiful downtown Shelbyville, Tennessee. Their phone number is area code 931-492-4304. John, obviously, I've been blown away by what I've seen at your place. I've now been there 3 times. But for the person who's never been, what should they expect?
Well, we have a 3,000 square foot store, George. Half of it is vintage cards in all sports. And then half of the store is, a lot of people call it the museum, where there's a lot of early equipment and just the history of sports in general. Baseball, football, basketball, golf, tennis, and other items.
When somebody comes in there that you know is a big sports fan, what is their normal reaction?
Well, I think that they're pleasantly surprised. And, of course, being in Shelbyville, Tennessee, which is a small town that you would never expect a shop like we have to be in. So they're kind of, I don't want to say blown away, but as I said, pleasantly surprised.
Welcome back in. It is time for Kelly's favorite segment of the show. It is time for Stat of the Day, presented to you by John English Antique Sports and Cards, located in Shelbyville, Tennessee. You can find them at 204 East Depot Street. They're open during the week Tuesday through Friday from noon to 5, and on Saturdays from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. So give them a visit or give them a call at 931-492-4304. We're going to the association and Steph Curry in particular. For his career, Steph Curry is now 6 of 25 on field goal attempts with 1 minute remaining in the fourth quarter to tie or take the lead. He's actually 0 for 12 with 45 seconds remaining as well. Can you name the NBA player with a minimum of 8 shot attempts with the best shooting percentage on shots to tie or take the lead with under 1 minute remaining in a playoff game?
Okay, Kelly, you want a couple of thoughts?
Sure.
First of all, about 18 of those shots that Steph Curry attempted, no human being could make. Just
I
for
agree.
the record.
I agree.
Okay, the first name that comes to mind is Reggie Miller. Reggie Miller was money.
Reggie Miller.
Yes. That's the first one that came to mind for me, Kelly.
Okay, the first one that came to mind is kind of a guy that he got a lot of championships. Not I don't know if he's well known, but Robert Horry was the one that came to my mind.
Robert Horry.
Yeah.
Okay, now
he made a lot of big shots in key moments.
Some are going to say Michael Jordan. He had some game winners in playoff things and then would pound his fist. So, are any of the three guesses correct?
Reggie Miller is 4th in shooting percentage all time. What if I told you that LeBron James had a better shooting percentage with under 1 minute remaining than Reggie Miller?
Really?
Correct.
Wow. Okay.
Reggie Miller is 41%. He was 7 of 17.
Okay.
6 of 13 from 3, though.
6 for 6 against the Knicks.
The Knicks. Where's Robert Horry?
I do not see him on here.
Oh, wow. Okay. All right. Sorry.
Nice try, though, Kelly. Thank you for playing.
For context, LeBron is 22 of 45.
Okay. Who's number one?
What about Larry Bird?
No more guesses.
The answer
This is hard.
The answer is a guy who bailed out LeBron James to win the championship. It is Ray Allen.
Ray Allen. Yes.
Mike Breen.
Bang!
52%.
Puts it in.
This was surprising to me. I guessed Kobe Bryant when David.
That was one I thought about.
Tried to think
Ray
of a
Allen.
clutch player.
Kobe
Mr. Clutch.
Kobe was 12 of 44, so 27%.
Good question.
That's a crazy stat, David. That was a good find.
Yeah, where'd you find that?
It's my job. I can't give you my sources.
He's staying up late at night, like after midnight, finding this
I
stuff.
feel like he's talking to Woj over the night.
So that's what you went to college for, was to find that?
Gosh.
To stump you guys.
Is Coach Herm ready? Coach Herm Edwards with his – did you know the answer?
No, I didn't know the answer, but it's amazing with some of the questions you guys bring up.
Yeah.
And the fact that, why can't it be a positive question? Why does it have to be like negative? Oh, he missed so many. Really? I mean, come on. You know how hard that thing is? You know how hard it is to make a shot like that?
David, he is drilling you right now.
I mean, come on. I mean,
you play to win the game, Herm.
Okay, I would ask you, how many free throws can you make in a row?
It's really good.
With nobody guarding. With nobody guarding.
It's a good question.
How many can you make in a row?
I could probably make a little over 10.
Probably. Here we go with the probably. 10 in a row?
Billy, there's no way.
10 in a row.
And then put 19,000 in there and have that organ playing at Madison Square Garden.
That's a different story, though.
Yeah, if you put people in the stands, he won't even hit the rim.
No.
Not wrong.
Just
I
an air
love
ball.
it. I love it. So oftentimes you all have heard me say that one of the things I've always admired, especially before he went back into coaching, was that ESPN would use Herm Edwards as what I would call a voice of reason. and they would bring all kinds of topics at him. And he always had what seemed like good, sensible, logical answers. So, Herm, the story got out about 8 hours ago that Charlie Baker, the new head of the NCAA, has gone to Washington and is trying to get Capitol Hill to help him to put some legislation out there about NIL. If he picked up the phone and called you and said, George says you're a voice of reason, what should be in that bill? What would you say to him?
Well, I think he has a great point, a valid point, because if there's no legislation, obviously the teams that have deep pockets will have the ability to garner, a lot of the really good players, right? I think that there has to be a mechanism to where when they receive these funds, that it's done in a way where, I don't know if they're ready to receive some of the funds that you're hearing about right away. Is there any kind of way? To me, I've always said this: is it tied to their graduation? Let them graduate. Let them graduate. And if this is the deal, this gives them the ability, first of all, to stay at the university so they don't leave right away and try to get another bite of the apple if something better comes along, or if for some reason they get benched or it doesn't work out good for them. All these things become a part of it, and I think going to try to get it legislated, who's going to do that, right? I mean, who's going to do that? How are you going to keep up with all that? I mean, it's a great idea, but I don't know how you legislate it, to be quite honest.
Herm, you and I are pretty close on one thing here, that some of the money should be tied to academic performance, community service. Are you and I on the same boat there?
Yeah, we are. Yeah, we are. And I said this long ago before this even took place, that the student athletes, because of the TV and how they generate money now in today's world, needed to be compensated more than a scholarship, right? And that kind of never got done. And this is why we sit in this position now. And it's gone from one extreme to another. And it's going really fast. The train is really going down the track really fast.
Herm, I'm not totally stupid. I think that the coaching community right now is as miserable as they've ever been. I don't see a lot of coaches having a lot of fun. And I guess I've blanketed this in my mind to say, I don't believe Herm Edwards would have ever gone back into college if you had known the NIL was coming. Would I be close to true on that?
You'd be absolutely, that's the truth. And not saying these kids don't deserve more than what they've garnered, books and tuition, because I do believe in all sports. I mean, basketball, football, I mean, all the sports, that with the TV generated now by these universities and these conferences, compared to what they give the student athletes, it doesn't match up.
Herm, one of the things I've always thought that might be going on, or we might get some public, glimpse of, is here's the quarterback who's making $1.8 million a year, and frankly, not having a very good season. And the offensive linemen, they're all getting chicken wings, from Zaxby's, and they're pissed off. They're not happy because the guy getting all the money isn't performing up to that money. How often does that kind of crap go on in a locker room?
Well, I mean, it happens, and all you've done is really accelerated it now, from being a pro football player to a high school guy. let's say you're a senior and you're one of those offensive linemen and you're recruiting some freshman quarterback who hadn't played one down of college football, and you paying him a king's ransom. The tackles over there looking to go away, but now I've been a starter here for 4 years, and I haven't received anything. And we're getting ready to pay a 17-year-old more money than I can even imagine. I mean, all those things that talked about, there's no doubt about that.
So I want to ask one last thing about this, and then I'll move it to Kelly and see where he wants to go. Would I be right in believing that certain schools figured out this landscape in this 2 to 4 year window better than the others?
No doubt. We knew the train was coming down the track 2 years ago. And a lot of people thought, well, it ain't going to pass. It's not going to pass. You know, and I can remember the conversations, and I said, guys, if this thing passes and we don't have a car on the train, we're going to get run over. And that's what's happened to a lot of schools. They are behind. They are behind. There's no doubt.
If you had to guess, what's the percentage that are way behind? If you had 130 on the D1 level, how many of those are behind the curve?
I would say 100.
Wow.
Didn't anticipate it. Not like this.
Yeah.
They saw it coming, but didn't anticipate this was going to, that there was no kind of like, thankful. Like, what is this? You know, there's no, it's kind of like everybody's freelance.
Yeah. So, Kelly, I think you can tell why I would ask him, well, why I've always said voice of reason, because when I bring up these kind of topics, he's always got voice of reason kind of answers. So the floor is yours.
Well, I think, and he can allude to this when you know, when this happens in the National Football League, we're seeing all these quarterbacks, Lamar Jackson, Jalen Hurts. We saw Deshaun Watson kind of get the thing out of whack, but people don't understand that when you know, as young kids, they're getting promised all this money and they're getting all this money coming to them. That's a lot of expectations, and sometimes guys can't live up to those expectations. There's, you know, it's great to have a lot of money. It's great to get that, but now there's certain expectations that come with that money.
Well, you make a great point, and at a young age, you know, generally in college, and sports has changed a little bit in college athletics, you know, really calling out the players was not like part of the deal, you know, a little bit, not like in pro football, right?
Mm-hmm.
When the quarterback has a bad day, I mean, they're beating up the quarterback, and you know it because it comes along with the territory or the head coach in pro football.
Yep.
In college football, it was always, you know, okay, but it was never personal. But now that you make money, that's gonna be part of the story they write. Hey, this kid's making this much money. Well, he should throw 2 touchdowns every game, at least, right? That's what they're going to expect.
Yep. Yep. So let me, and George brought this up earlier, and I've even said this, and I think there are some colleges that have done this. I've heard this. Now, I'm not in the, you know, indoor meetings, but like, couldn't you put that all into like a slush fund and give everybody the same? I mean, that creates no animosity when you got, you know, and I use the example of, you know, a center making $200,000 and the right guard's making nothing. Right. And y'all alluded to that earlier, but couldn't there be a deal? Couldn't there be a deal where you could put it all into like a slush fund and give guys the same amount of money?
You could. I mean, and you could bracket it. The starters are going to make this, or the seniors are going to make this, and the juniors are going to make this, and the sophomores are going to make that. And you got to be okay with that. Now you got to understand, you know, the people that are allocating the money, that's a whole different deal. All of a sudden, is that person, because he allocates so many funds to the program, wants to become, quote, a owner? That it's easier to own a college team than it is an NFL team.
Right.
You're putting that kind of money in the pot, right? Do you need a say now on who's going to be hired as assistant coaches? What players you want recruited?
Yeah.
There's so many layers to this.
You're absolutely right. There are so many layers. So let's get to some football stuff. So the biggest trade this year has been the Aaron Rodgers deal, and he's getting some guys surrounding him that come from Green Bay. And I look back to what Tom Brady did, when he went to Tampa. I cannot believe that he won the Super Bowl in his first year. And I think everybody's thinking that Aaron Rodgers is going to get this young team over the hump in 1 year, and I just don't see that happening. What are your thoughts on Aaron Rodgers? And you've got to have some experience in the battles, and he's with some young guys like Tampa. When Tom Brady went down there, Tampa had some old guys that had been in the fight, that had been there for a while and won some games. This New York Jets team is really young, but it seems like everybody's putting the onus on, he's going to get them over the hump. What are your thoughts, Coach?
Well, I think he gets them over the hump. They're now a playoff team, right? I mean, if Aaron Rodgers is just Aaron Rodgers, he's going to throw 2 touchdowns a game.
Yeah.
Do the math. That's 14 points. You get a field goal kicker to kick 2 field goals. You got 20 points. They're averaging 17 a game. Defense was only giving up 18. So I think the pressure, though, and you just said, on the players has changed now. It's going from a team that's 7-10, all of a sudden, you should win the division. Look, I think if they get into the playoffs, that's a step forward. You're hoping Aaron Rodgers is going to be there more than 1 year, but you don't know. You don't know that, And they got a guy that obviously offensively you're going to be better. That helps your defense. But they play in a tough division. You got the Bills sitting there with a good quarterback, Josh Allen. You got Tua, if he's okay. If he would have played the whole season last year and didn't get concussed, he might have been the MVP. The New England Patriots aren't going anywhere, right? You go in the AFC, you got Cincinnati, with their quarterback, Burrows. Lamar comes back. The Browns quarterback, Deshaun Watson, he's going to play better. Lawrence, then the whole AFC South, you have Lawrence, then you got a bunch of young quarterbacks. Then you got Kansas City, you got that one guy that he's just a different cat, right? Kansas City, come on. And you got the Chargers. So you look at all these teams and you go, this was a tough, it would almost have suited Aaron Rodgers to stay in the NFC with his old team because he don't have to face all these quarterbacks. Right? They play the NFC East and they play the AFC West. That's the teams out of the division they're going to play. That's a tough schedule.
Yeah, it seems that way. Talk a little bit, I'm sticking with quarterbacks today, but, Bryce Young, we've heard everything. I really like the guy. I'm sure you probably do too. I think he creates something that, hadn't been seen in a while. The guy just knows how to play. He's a calm, cool cat. And we talked to Tim Couch earlier today. We're going to have him on the show tomorrow. But, that first pick, when you're a first pick quarterback, you're probably going to a really bad football team. But, everybody's on his size. And what are your thoughts on his size? My college coach used to tell me, players come in all shapes and sizes. You got to go out and find them. And that's kind of what Bryce Young reminds me. He's not the prototypical quarterback, but I see him as a guy that can go in there with a level head and go in there and play right off the bat. Now, I don't know if that's going to happen, but what are your thoughts on Bryce Young?
No, I think he has a lot of attributes that you love as a quarterback. Anytime a ball gets knocked down or he throws an interception over the middle of the field because he didn't quite see it, they're going to mention his size.
Yeah. The
size, the bothersome part is this. And we can say, well, he played in the SEC. I get that, but the SEC is not the NFL. Can he withstand the physicalness of what's going to happen to him? Because he's going to get hit.
Yeah.
And you just mentioned it. He's on a team that is a team, they got to protect it. He can't all of a sudden be in games dropping back 30 times in a game. You got to protect it. He can't be trying to bring the team back in the fourth quarter because they're down by 3 touchdowns. Because then he's going to get beat up. And that can ruin a quarterback. And he has enough people around him with the head coach, Coach Caldwell, all these quarterback gurus. There's about 4 of them on that staff, right? And the question I ask is this. You got a bunch of guys, and when you played the position, there only can be one voice talking to the quarterback. You get all these voices with all these different opinions and different thoughts. Don't mess him up. Who's the one voice that when that guy comes from the sideline, who is he talking to? He can't be talking to 3 or 4 people. He just can't. You know it.
Yep.
And so that, to me, is more concerned than anything else. Who's going to be the voice of reason when the quarterback comes off the field?
That's a good point. That is a great point. Now, I got one more thing, and I presented this to George a couple of weeks ago. This is my thought, and I got to get your thought on it. What are your thoughts on the combine? Because this is an out of the left field question, but your thoughts on it. Like, all the big time players are not even performing at the combine anymore. And my whole thing is, I think it's a waste of time. I think it's for guys, for all you coaches to go up there. Y'all go to St. Elmo's, you get you some shrimp with some hot cocktail sauce. You drink some beverages and you hang out with each other. You get to see some guys run and jump and do the 3 shuttle drill and all that stuff. Is it really necessary anymore? Because we got all these pro days at the schools. What's your thoughts?
The reason was this. You got everyone in location, so you get the medical.
I get that.
You wanted to get the medical. Okay, the medical was important along with the interviews. And the cost was more efficient than teams flying all over the country trying to work guys out. Because everyone's on a different day when they work out. So I want to work this guy. They were all there, so you saw it. You can't get to all the workouts. It's impossible. You don't have enough time. So that was the reason. Now, you make mention now a lot of these guys don't work out. Look, I can remember going to the combine when I was a young coach, and Dion, he showed up, and we're interviewing Dion the night before the meeting, and Dion says, "Hey," the coach asked him, Martin says, "You gonna do the drills?" He says, "No." He says, I'm gonna run the 40. And the coaches said, and then the coaches, well, you need to do the drills. He said, "I'm running the 40. That's it." And so I'm laughing, right? I'm laughing at this. I'm going, okay, he just go run a 40. So sure enough, he comes up, it's Deion Sanders. He puts his hand down on the line. He runs through there. I think he ran 4.3, whatever he ran, right? Not only did he run a 40, we waved as he walked out of the building. He left the building.
That's great.
He was like Elvis. I ran one. He didn't even run 2. I ran 1, and he walked out of the building. And I'm sitting up there, and I'm going, he's going to be either the first or the 4th player drafted. He didn't work out.
That's great.
That is a great story, Herm. Thank you as always. It is never dull.
My pleasure.
Appreciate it, Coach.
Oh, that is beautiful. How funny is that? Gosh,
that's awesome.
St. Elmo's just called. They're not sponsoring the show.
Oh, that's awful, man. Because if we could get some grub from St. Elmo's, but I've heard from some stories on Dion, man, that was like he went into his first meeting when he got signed from San Francisco to Dallas, and one of the coaches, his DB coach, went into the meeting with him, and he started talking about all these coverages and all this, and Dion goes, "Hey, man, hold on, man. Hey, you ain't got to teach me all that. Just tell me who I got." So I've heard so many stories on Dion. It's so funny, man.
That's funny. After the break, Sounds play-by-play voice Jeff Him will join us, and it's possible that there will be a little bit of Atlanta Braves talk in this conversation. Oh, yeah. Stick around.
How am I going to get to work? My car's totaled.
Skylar, our team is making a call right now. We'll get you a rental car. Don't worry.
That's a relief.
Call us 24/7. We're here. We're going to help.
Year number 2 of the Plaster and Friends Celebrity Bowling Night was awesome. And the reason is really simple. I chose Strike and Spare, and they were amazing. They have great food, great bowling, and a staff that is truly ready to go the extra mile to help you. They have 5 family fun centers in the area to choose from, and for more info, go to strikeandspare.com or call them at 615-824-5685. Now that the weather has gotten considerably warmer, there's not a better place to spend a morning or an afternoon than Riverside Golf Lanes. So you've probably noticed the weather has gotten a lot warmer, and that means a couple of things in Nashville. It means baseball, and it really means golf. And for me, it's a visit to Riverside Golf Links. The course has improved dramatically. There are now 27 holes, including a 9-hole executive course. If you want tee times or more information, dial them up at 615-847-5074.
You can't see the sights without the sounds. From the crack of the bat to the roar of the crowd and everything in between. Discover what Hit City has to offer. Single game tickets are on sale now.
Hello, this is Celeste Middleton, a State Farm agent in Murfreesboro, Tennessee. I want to help my neighbors and local businesses be proactive and assess their risk before something unexpected happens. We want you to have a thorough understanding of your coverages to have the best protection when you need it. We can create a personal price plan for you. Our team has over 70 years of experience helping people in Middle Tennessee. We have an awesome team with integrity and provide honest and prompt communication, and we love what we do and genuinely care about everyone we work with at our office. Give us a call at 615-895-2700, send us a message at celestemiddleton.com, or walk in at our office at 803 North Thompson Lane in Murfreesboro. We would love to earn your business.
Okay, we are back. You may have heard the news earlier today out of Atlanta that Max Fried is going on the DL again. And while they're not saying Tommy John surgery, it is serious enough to believe that he will not be pitching for the Braves for more than the 15 days that he is on what I used to call the disabled list. It's now the IL. And so, ironically, Gwinnett is in town to play the Sounds. Tonight is game 1 of a 6-game series. And Jeff Hem was nice enough to send me earlier today what I wanted to know, which is when is Mike Soroka pitching? And that will be on Thursday night. And you can take this to the bank. I'll be there to see it. Jeff, how you doing?
I'm doing great, George. It's good to see you and Kelly as well. My question was going to be, how many of the 6 will we see you out here for, George?
The answer is several.
Good. I figured that was going to be the case. You know, this is going to get really interesting from the topics you were just describing. You know, some of this I don't have to tell you. You can tell me on the Braves front. But for listeners, and this is kind of why it's always interesting, there are so many reasons why a fan would want to come out to a Sounds game, and we, the Sounds, want to crush all of them, whatever the reason might be. And we know that this week, certainly one of those reasons for people in this market may be that Gwinnett is here, Braves AAA. Iowa comes in a couple weeks. I know there will be some Cubs people who maybe they come to a couple of games of Sounds games every year. They're probably going to be those while Iowa is here. We see it from a red standpoint when Louisville is here. And that's fine. Look, we and I want the Sounds to win every game, but I'm not blind to the fact that there are going to be plenty of people here the next 6 nights that are Braves fans and are sort of feeling torn. Locally, they want to pull for the Sounds, but they're coming at it from a Braves angle. If you are coming at this series from a Braves angle, it's going to get interesting because, you know, like I said, I don't have to tell you, George, but you mentioned Fried. They're already without the Vanderbilt alum, Kyle Wright. There's basically 2 potentially long-term openings in the Braves rotation right now. They've got Bryce Elder, they've got Spencer Strider, and they've got Charlie Morton. The key word down at AAA is like what I sent you earlier, George. We use the word probable. The rotations include probables because they are always at AAA, subject to change. It certainly feels like some things could change this week for the Braves. They're off today and they're off again on Thursday. They've got this little 2-game series with Boston. If I'm not mistaken, George, they need a starter for tomorrow.
And here it's listed as the Braves' top prospect, Jared Schuster, against the Sounds. So I'm not saying he is or isn't going to pitch here. I just use the word probable because that's what AAA does. You use the word probable. They use it in the big leagues. It's a lot more emphasized as probable down here because there certainly is going to be a need somewhere along the line for Fried, but already for the Kyle Wright replacement. And there's also been movement with the Braves. Just yesterday, they got Travis d'Arnaud back. So we'll see Chadwick Tromp back down here in the lineup for Gwinnett tonight. Vaughn Grissom back down here now that Orlando Arcia is back up there. So this movement is not at all uncommon, but I think there are a lot of folks this week who are going to know a little bit more about it because they might be coming at it from a Braves angle. The Sounds are coming off a few good offensive games over the weekend in St. Paul. They got a series split here. Gwinnett's overall record is not very good this year. In fact, it's one of the worst in the International League. They're coming in at 12-20 going into tonight. But again, part of that is because there's been so much movement and need, I think, in Atlanta. We all know the Braves typically have a very good and deep farm system. So when you can tell me Gwinnett's record is one thing, I look at their lineup for tonight, and I was just doing that before we came on. They've got a few guys in there who I know can hit because a couple of them did it as Sounds not that long ago, and Eli White and Nick Solak. Grissom's in there. I'm expecting a really fun week. I think this is going to be a fun 6 games. The Sounds are playing well. They've got some hitters who are heating up now that we're about a month in. B, they're a Brewers affiliate. The Brewers are in a division race. We know the Braves are in a division race. They've got the best record in the National League. And with all the movement I was just describing, Atlanta's going to have some needs. There's going to be no shortage of storylines. So if you are a baseball fan, whether you're a Braves diehard, a Brewers diehard, or just a big league fan or a AAA fan, we've got you covered this week because there's some fun stuff going on with this matchup. We see it every time Gwinnett comes here. It feels bigger this week, given on the Atlanta side what their injury needs are, and the Brewers just snapped a 6-game skid over the weekend, so they're trying to get through the other side of their first rough patch of the year, and they've done well so far this year. So when you have 2 big league teams in contention and their AAA clubs match up, even if one of them does not have a local angle like Gwinnett does with the Braves, it always creates for some fun storylines for guys in my shoes and for segments like this.
So, I keep up enough on the Brave stuff to know that there are 3 guys down in Gwinnett right now that are probably going to have to help the big league team. Dylan Dodd, Bryce Elder's already proven he can do that. Jared Schuster, and then let's get to Soroka, which is where I want to go. You sent me the word, and I appreciate it, that he will pitch on Thursday. This guy has gone through hell and back to even get to the AAA level after 2 different Achilles tears. What are you hearing on him, and is there a belief he's going back soon or not anywhere close?
Well, first things first, Dylan Dodd is scheduled to pitch here tonight. So folks who have just heard you talk about that, I know you knew that, but for folks hearing this and they're coming at it from a Braves angle, one of the many Atlanta prospects is Dylan Dodd, who was just up there and did well last week for the Braves and is going to start tonight against the Sounds. So Dodd is scheduled tonight. Schuster is scheduled tomorrow. And then, like you said, Soroka is scheduled for Thursday. I'll be honest, George, when you asked me last week about Soroka, I thought he was on a major league rehab assignment because you used the phrase hell and back. He's been through so much. I know he's post-injury. I thought he was on a rehab assignment just because it has been such an arduous couple of years for him to get healthy. He is an active member of Gwinnett's roster. He's not on major league rehab assignment.
Right.
I don't know when he's going up, but man, if you've got 2 potentially long-term open spots in the Atlanta rotation, I know Soroka's he's not dominating AAA so far, and I'm sure some of that you would think is just kind of getting back into pitching regularly and getting the proverbial rust off. If you've got 2 potentially open Atlanta Braves rotation spots, and Dodd is great, and Schuster seems like the sky's the limit too, but if Soroka doesn't get one of those, I would be surprised by that because when healthy, the guy's been a tremendous big league pitcher. And maybe they would say, hey, you know what? Yeah, maybe if this were July, oh my gosh, Soroka could be our guy. Maybe they're not ready yet. But I, as an outsider looking in, would think, man, Soroka would seem to be a guy that would have a good chance to get one of those two spots, unless they, of course, know a lot more about the inside outside than I do. Maybe he just needs more time. But from stuff and ability, I mean, I would think he would take one of those two spots, wouldn't you?
Well, yeah. I mean, I think if he doesn't, it's a clear signal that either A, they're not going to rush him, or B, he's not ready yet.
Yeah. I mean, it feels like he's on a rehab assignment, even though officially he's not on a rehab assignment. And maybe that's why. Maybe in the back of their mind, they're like, man, it really stinks that we need some guys right now, but let's hold off on Soroka. Maybe that's what they do. And maybe long term, that's a good idea. I'm not in their, internal medical meetings, but I'm just looking at it objectively of like, Mike Soroka's been a heck of a big leaguer when fully healthy. There are two open spots in that Atlanta rotation. The bottom line is the Braves, while I'm sure they don't love the spot they're in from the standpoint of Wright and Fried being hurt, this is why you do what the Braves do, what the Brewers do. These are two of the best pitching developing organizations in baseball. I mean, if I'm making a list of the top five, Tampa Bay and the Dodgers are in there. I'm putting the Braves and the Brewers in there. So the Braves have the luxury or the benefit of the work that they do paying off in spots like this, where if they need a couple of guys, they don't just have one guy where they're like, man, I hope this works out. They've got 3-4 names that I would think they can feel confident about having to call on in a spot like this. Because if we're having this conversation in July, I certainly would think Atlanta is still at or near the top of those division standings. They're so deep not to be. And part of that is because whatever the Gwinnett record is, I don't care. They develop arms, and they've got arms on this Stripers pitching staff.
If Milwaukee, God forbid, had some of the same issues, how many guys in a sound starting rotation would you feel comfortable could go up, give you 6-7 innings, 2 runs, 3 runs, and keep their team in a game?
Yeah, there's definitely a couple. And one of them is still up there right now in Colin Ray, because the Brewers don't have Brandon Woodruff yet and probably won't until June. So Ray is up there right now, a guy with, big league pedigree, big league background with a few different teams, has done nothing but pitch well for the Sounds whenever we've had him. He was off to a great start. He's been up there almost a month now. So that's one right there. But the Sounds have a couple of good options down here, and they're loaded in the bullpen too. I think the Brewers just reinstated Adrian Hauser yesterday, a guy that they, going into the year, thought was going to be a sixth man, swing man, be in the bullpen. Well, then Woodruff got hurt. They called up Ray initially, but now that they've got Hauser back, they're back to a fairly good 5-man rotation. So what I'm saying to answer your question is sometimes your best backup option is in your big league bullpen, and then from AAA, you're calling up maybe a starter, maybe a reliever. They're not going up necessarily to replace the apples to apples guy. They're moving a guy over to replace that guy, but they need the depth then in their bullpen. And the Sounds have the best bullpen right now in AAA. What they've done with a lot of their starters down here is have just about everybody be a 2 to 3, maybe 4 inning guy. There are some guys who go 5 and can go beyond. They're stretched out, as we would say. A lot of other guys, the Brewers want more than just a few to be multiple inning guys. So in that example, there's no shortage of guys down here who could go up and be a long man in the bullpen, maybe start, maybe give you 2 or 3. And that's the way the Brewers have structured the Sounds, because they want to know that they've got a ton of options, not just pigeonholed into needing one starter. Jansen Junk will pitch down here in a couple of days. He already made 1 start for Milwaukee this year. Ethan Small is in the bullpen, Tennessee native prospect, Mississippi State alum, but he's doing great this year. I think long-term he still has starters stuff, but he's in the bullpen right now after some late season struggles a year ago and seems to iron that out. So there are no shortage of pitching options down here for the Sounds, whatever the Brewers might need, just like Gwinnett, I think, has them well stocked for Atlanta.
Kelly, you got one or two questions for Jeff Herm?
Well, y'all talk about all this day-to-day stuff, and I know that's what y'all like doing, but my whole deal is with Jeff. So I want to ask him, like, I know you have access to the players, and I know it's always a revolving door. It seems like in the minors, with guys getting dropped down, going up to majors. Is there any time that you ever get have a personal relationship with some of the guys? I mean, how much access do you have to those guys, Jeff?
Yeah, quite a bit. I mean, some of it is just natural by traveling with the team. You're just around.
Yeah.
But then within that, there are plenty of opportunities where I can get to know them a little bit more. Some of it is in a literal sense, where part of my pregame show is an interview with one of them just about every day. So you get to know them in that more official format. But then you're also just around and being with the team. Part of why I love the job and love some of what George and I were just talking about with guys going up to the big leagues is you see how hard they work at this level, the hours that they put in. So the idea that a guy could get a day in the big leagues, much less a 5-year, 10-year career, be one of the all-time greats, or have the proverbial cup of coffee somewhere in between, they all work so hard to try to get up there, and it is so hard to get to the big leagues. It's even harder to stay. So part of what I love is getting to know them and see that part of it. Then when they do get up there, whether it's this year, 4 years from now, whatever, and maybe they're long gone from being a Sound, but they get to the big leagues, you in our role here, you have this moment of like, yeah, good for him, man. I remember that guy because, somebody maybe becomes a Gold Glover, and maybe they weren't the best defensive player on the team when they were down here, but you see the work that they put in to become great. That's the fun part of the job. I mean, I think of the Braves right now, and what Matt Olson, George, is doing for Atlanta. Now, he was a highly touted prospect when he was a Sound, and he went on to become a great Oakland A before they traded him. So there was no surprise that Matt Olson turned out to be a really good big leaguer. But, man, the work that he put in to be that great, yes, he's got amazing natural talent, and all these guys do, or they wouldn't have gotten to AAA. But the finding the way to go from good to great, or from really good to great, or from okay to really good, like, those differences are so small, but can pay off so big that it's fun to develop those personal relationships and just you become a fan of them as a human being because you see the work that gets put in. And a few years ago when the Braves won the World Series, I didn't have the same reaction to them winning it that George did. I didn't grow up a Braves fan, but there were a few people in that organization that I was incredibly happy for, because I knew them at least a little bit, or I knew them through the Sounds, or they'd been Sounds, and you see the payoff and how hard they work. And then to get to that level, get to play in a big league postseason, or maybe they become an all-star, whatever it is. Those are the fun parts of doing what I do, because day to day, I'm here at the ballpark just about as much as they are. And you see the work that goes in. It's no different than behind the scenes. If you're in an NFL mini camp, or you see a guy get drafted into the NFL, and those moments of like, man, good for him, because that guy, when he went into college, was not even number one on the depth chart. He played his way into being in the NFL. Or there are comps to basketball or hockey too. Minor league baseball and AAA baseball is such a high level. I don't think most people give it credit for the quality of baseball that it is. I don't like the term minor league. I've always just internally, personally, just hated that. I think we as minor league teams need a better name for it. That's why I call it AAA as much as I call it minor league, because these guys are so good. It's the second highest level of baseball in the world, next to the major leagues. So when a guy works hard at the minor league level and gets to the big leagues, you celebrate those, and you get to see a number of them in the role that I have.
Well, that's, and I need to start calling it AAA too, because I totally agree with you. I'm totally agree with you. I don't know if I like the minor league word, and it makes, I asked Danny Evans about this last week, but it makes what the guy that played 13 years, down in the, and
with the
Drew
Pirates.
Maggi. I mean,
yeah,
that's got to make you feel. I mean, that's got to make people that are down there. It's got to make them feel good, because, this guy put in his time, obviously worked hard, and he finally got a shot.
No doubt. And look, I'm a fan too, so I can't say I've never done this. When you're watching it, whatever name of sport, you're watching kind of the last guy on the team get in there, and he doesn't put up big numbers or whatever, and the fan, oh, that guy's terrible. Yeah. He's not terrible. He is one of the absolute best players at his job in the entire world. He just has a really hard job. It's really hard to be a great Major League Baseball player. So, a guy makes an error in a AAA game, it's easy to react like, oh my gosh, how do you miss that ball? It's really hard what these guys do. Professional sports of any sport is incredibly hard. So these guys are the best of the best. And yes, we're all fans and we all want them to be Gold Glovers and all pro and whatever the accolade may be. There's just not room for all of that, for everybody to have that, because it's really hard to do. So I think you have to celebrate the last guy on the bench almost as much as you have to celebrate, the LeBron James or the Patrick Mahomes or whatever that they are of their particular sport.
They all have a role.
Yep, no doubt.
Amen to what y'all have said. As I told a buddy of mine who was struggling in the major leagues, do you realize the odds you have beaten just to get here? They're astronomical.
No
Those
question.
are the best of the best, whether you're a Gold Glove winner or the 25th man. Y'all said it beautifully. Jeff, I'll see you tonight. Save me a seat.
All right, buddy. See you guys.
Hey, Jeff.
Bye-bye.
That's Jeff Herm, Nashville Sounds play-by-play announcer, and a darn good one at that. It's a major league voice working in AAA. And if you don't believe it, turn him on one night and listen. He is really good. We'll go to the break. Kelly's thrilled because Plaster Bet of the Day is next.
Starting to save for your future doesn't have to be difficult. Let Wilson Bank and Trust help tone up your financial goals this year. Our certificates of deposits or CDs can help your money work harder with our competitive rates, earning you more than ever before. WBT checking options allow you to earn rewards you can really use, like a high interest rate or cash back on check card purchases when you meet some e-banking qualifications. Visit your closest Wilson Bank and Trust office or online at wilsonbank.com to get started today. Member FDIC.
As the trusted premier custom home builder in Middle Tennessee, Donnelly Timmons has over 20 years of experience in the industry. Whether you're looking to build your dream home or renovate your current home, their team will ensure that every client and every remodel is unique, luxurious, and completed on time within budget. Founders Dustin Timmons and Joey Donnelly have over 25 years of construction experience in the Nashville area. Together, they have completed projects in Forest Hills, Oak Hill, Green Hills, Franklin, and Brentwood. Dustin and Joey believe that communication is the most important aspect of all construction projects. Therefore, they personally manage each project themselves and are involved in job site activities on a daily basis. Their commitment to quality and integrity has earned them an outstanding reputation among their clients. Contact them to set an appointment for a free consultation or to view some of their completed projects. Give them a call at 615-456-7983 or log on to DonnellyTimmons.com. Family owned and operated for more than 2 decades, Alaco Fine Wood Floors is Nashville and Middle Tennessee's choice for premium quality hardwood floors. Since 1995, Jimmy Alaco and his army of employees have embodied the approach of taking pride in one's craft and providing superior customer service, growing from a one-man shop to a team of 23 professionals who share the founder's passion for quality craftsmanship and customer satisfaction. If you are interested in contacting them, you can find their headquarters at 2505 Winford Avenue in Berry Hill, or give them a call at 615-356-0303. Again, that's 615-356-0303, or log on to AlacoFineWoodFloors.com. Alaco Fine Wood Floors, serving Middle Tennessee's hardwood flooring needs since 1995.
At Baird, we have a different slant on global financial advice. That global capabilities mean nothing without personal attention. We have investor relationships in 35 countries and market expertise in over 40 industry verticals, all to help make the most important investment connections of all, yours. Global financial advice with a client-first approach. It's the shape of things to come. Discover the Bear Difference at beardifference.com.
Hey, thank you for meeting with me today. The insurance company has made an offer.
Already? Wow.
They've offered you the entire policy.
Thank you, Blair.
You're so welcome.
Welcome back in. Final segment on a Tuesday, Super Tuesday. We've got the Nashville Sounds and the Stripers tonight, game one. We've also got a couple of huge game fives tonight in the NBA playoffs. Of course, the NHL still rolling along. See where George's going tonight. It's Plaster's Bet of the Day, brought to you by Bart Durham Injury Law. Give them a call at 615-242-9000 or log on to bartdurham.com. First, let's take a look at what happened last night, though. Los Angeles, Lakers pulled through. They got the win, but Edmonton got just bullied, lost 5-1.
You know what?
And I was watching that early on. It was tied for a bit there, but then I checked back, and it's 4-1.
If you take the goaltender out, Edmonton's as scary as anybody. But the problem is the goaltender means a lot in hockey.
Mm-hmm.
And they're a little shaky at the goaltender position. I'm not saying it was all his fault last night. It was not. But you can't give up 5 in a period kind of stuff. You cannot have those kind of explosions in the playoffs. And that is hurting Edmonton.
There's only so much McDavid and Draisaitl can do for you.
Those two.
They're incredible.
Hey, what happened to the goalie for the Golden Knights? I mean, did he get a concussion? Did he get hit by a puck right in the head? Or what happened to him?
I didn't catch that.
See it, to be honest. I saw a little bit of it when it got to 5-1. For the most part, I was watching the NBA stuff last night.
Right.
Well, I saw something where Jonathan Quick was Vegas's third goalie last night. So
wow.
I'm not sure. Did he play? I'm trying to figure out what's going on too, Kelly.
Yeah, I don't know. I was just wondering if y'all knew. I saw him.
Yeah, because he did. Yeah, he had to leave the game.
Yeah.
Former LA Kings goaltender, and a darn good one. Anyway, you want to go with tonight?
Let's do it.
I'm going to do a 2-team teaser tonight in the NBA. I think the home teams are going to win. I'm just not certain they're going to cover the real spread. So I'm going to tease Boston down to -3 at the Garden against Philly.
Jack's happy.
Well, I think James Harden, when he goes off, Philly's really good. Problem is he doesn't go off every night, and I don't think he can anymore.
No.
And I don't think he does tonight. I think Boston really puts some pressure on him. Embiid's going to get his points.
That's the scary part.
Yeah.
If Harden goes off and you've got Embiid.
That's the problem when you play Philly. I don't think it's going to happen.
That's the thing.
I'm teasing
it doesn't
Boston
always happen.
Down to -3. The other game, who knows? Denver at home is really good. Denver is really good. Denver is better than the Lakers, he keeps saying to himself. But I also said Golden State was better than the Lakers. I don't know. I also know this. Phoenix is really good. They got a lot of weapons. This is an offensive firepower bonanza.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to tease Denver down to -1 at home. Both of those have to win for the bet to win. That's what a 2-team teaser is all about. In hockey, no hesitation whatsoever. Let's go Kraken.
The Kraken.
I'm telling you, they are for real. And in Seattle, Kelly, they are not going to get ripped. If they score first, they're going to win.
George, I actually like all 3 of those picks. I really do. I mean, I can't. I hate saying that. That really it hurts me. It hurts me to the core. But I think you may go in the positive for tomorrow. I really do.
Need it. Tomorrow, Kelly's former teammate, a University of Kentucky great, Tim Couch, will join us. That will be very interesting. And we bring back Kelly's World of Football. Look at the excitement level on his face.
That means I have to think tonight.
Yeah, a little bit of work, show prep. Be good for you.
That's right.
Got it?
I'll try.
See you tomorrow.
See you, fellas.
Billy, see you tomorrow.
Take it easy, George.
All of you tomorrow. Hope you'll join us. See ya.